Hi there, welcome to Island Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Aquarius energy, and we're going to read it from a couple different perspectives of how different decisions people might be making and how they're moving forward in their life, because it depends on how they harness their Aquarius energy. If they're more caught up in the world, like to be indulged, more caught up in themselves, they're going to be handling this energy differently than someone who looks at life from a higher perspective and has hope and faith and belief in love and has learned some lessons in life to treat other people the way they like to be treated. So it might be something significant that people who are an Aquarius sun sign might deal with or have significant Aquarius placements, or it might just be an energy affecting Aquarius energy. And we all tap into Aquarius energy, and we all can be caught up more in the world or about ourselves and make those things more important in our life than looking at life from a higher perspective and thinking there's more to life than us or all these things of the world that we make our life about. So listen to your intuition about where you're at in the story and how you harness your Aquarius energy and how some other people in your life harness their Aquarius energy. So I view this card here as the overarching reason for the reading, and it's the Ten of Wands. And the nines and the tens, and right before that we have the Nine of Wands. Some people, it's kind of where we have the free will choice. Are we going to kind of wrap our brain around this game of life? Because Sagittarius energy of the Nine and the Ten of Wands is about higher learning and education. We live our life at a stage of life to learn lessons in life. Did we learn the lesson? It's becoming kind of overwhelming to kind of keep repeating an old pattern because our intuition is telling us, offer love to the situation, have some hope and faith and belief in yourself, close out a way of viewing life, a way of living life, certain jobs, friendships, or relationships that you kind of find overwhelming. Or letting go of your defensiveness or your immaturity or your pride or your ego. Those are all some cards over here I see. Or let go of people who are in that energy. Close out that cycle. And then when we let go of the 10, we come out with, in this case, the Ace of Wands. Inspired more by love than fear and insecurity and pride and ego and lust and greed and all those things. But some people refuse to close out a cycle. They could be defensive. They could be overwhelmed. And instead of dealing with the truth of why are they so defensive? Why are they so overwhelmed? They might decide that the answer isn't to drop the burden, learn the lesson. Nope, I'm just going to put more work and effort to try to present myself as like a loving person to get people to get in relationship with me, or I'm going to go try to find a loving person, which if you need help, that's one thing to go talk to someone. But some people, they look to other people to be the answer to their problems. If I can just find me a loving, nurturing person, but it can be to kind of, it's like how people can turn to like drugs or alcohol or food or things to be the answer to their problems. And they haven't realized that they need to learn to offer love to themselves. That is how you work through some of your overwhelm and your defensiveness and your burdens. But we'll see more of what comes up. But it has to do with if we're defensive, because some people are going to stop here at the Nine of Wands, which talks about defensiveness. I am unwilling to close out an old way of being. There's something that could make me defensive, something that could make me feel overwhelmed. It could be working with just, fair, truthful, loving people who want people to grow up and mature themselves. And they're defensive to that. It's like, no, I'm going to take all my sticks and I'm going to go find someone else to go get in a relationship with. I'm sure that person won't require that of me. So what is going on in Aquarius energy right now? We have the Ace of Wands, the Moon card, the World, and the Page of Pentacles. And the reason that came out is because of the Nine of Cups. So going with the cycle of life, again, we go through certain phases of life because we do have lessons to learn about what we find emotionally fulfilling and what's more self-indulgent, and we come in contact with all these other people in the world, and the moon can talk about, we're meeting all these other people too that we kind of really don't know. The moon can talk about things that drive and motivate people, and the moon can talk about how we don't always see things clearly because people can present themselves as a loving person in the world, right? The kings can represent how people present themselves in the world. It's considered masculine energy because people don't really know how we think and feel, and that's kind of represented by the feminine figures. So anybody can create an illusion, and we can think, oh boy, I want to go invest in them. And we maybe did, and we do, and then we kind of find out they're kind of wearing a false mask. And we could find out some of them really are authentic and loving, and then it kind of challenges us to work through our fears and insecurities, is what the moon can talk about. And the world can talk about, again, kind of seeing the truth of how we're kind of can be more about ourselves and our more self-indulgent nature, or we have these fears and insecurities and self-limiting beliefs that kind of stop us from being more free of our shadowy nature. And sometimes it keeps us kind of being in more immature energy, more codependent energy, more caught up in the world. We're looking outside of ourselves for something else to be the answer, because we haven't learned to invest in loving ourselves and closing out some old chapters in our life. And so then we can keep repeating an old pattern. We either kind of put an end to our more immature, self-indulgent, worldly nature, work through our issues to become more independent of them, so then we can be like a student of life again and ready to get new jobs, new friendships, new relationships, because we were inspired to become the Nine of Cups. High vibe energy is about being independent, and the Nine of Cups is about being emotionally independent of the past. If I dealt with people in my past that were more shadowy, weren't being truthful, didn't want to learn lessons in life, a relationship could have ended because they have this way of viewing the world and they want to keep moving forward in that same way of viewing life or living life, and they don't want to put an end. If we learn lessons in life, the world card talks about that we closed out a cycle, we shed a layer of our more immature, shadowy nature to be enlightened to the truth. That it's about loving yourself and believing in yourself and working through your fears and insecurities and your codependent nature and all those things to keep being a student of life. Again, Sagittarius energy over here is about higher learning and education. And some people have no interest in that. Nope. I don't, whatever is buried beneath the surface, the moon and the water, it's like, I want to keep those things buried beneath the surface. I don't want to deal with it. And we all have free will to say, I might have my own fears, my own insecurities. I might be defensive. I might be immature. I might be a player. I might be more aligned with my more worldly nature, because the page can refer to Virgo, Capricorn, and Taurus energy. And all of us have those three zodiac signs kind of elements within us. And some people are all in, more in favor. I'm more about me and the world. That is what I find enjoyable, and that's what I work with. That's what makes me happy. And some people in their free will, love isn't what drives and motivates them. I want to be indulged in the world, or I'm sure, if I do love and I let my more high vibe Virgo, Capricorn, and Taurus nature out in the world, they get hurt. So I put an end to letting them out to play in the world, and my more immature worldly nature of indulging myself in the world. I'm going to go make my life about me, status, image, money, being a player, what I wear, what I drive, how much money I have, whatever. That's what I'm sure will make me happy. And so that is people who are more caught up, still caught up in the illusion of the world. That is still the most important thing in their life. And we've kind of all been there, because I think for like the first 30, 40 years of our life, we grow up in the world tells us we should make our life about these things, and if we make our life about those things, we'll be happy. We'll be emotionally fulfilled, is what the Nine of Cups talks about. And some people did it, and then, the moon is different than the sun. It's kind of like not as vibrant and warm and, as we thought it was going to be, and as fulfilling as we could have thought it would be. And it could have kind of kept us in more codependent energy on the world, living more from our codependent egoic nature. And some people already did that, been there, done that, and they're no longer more aligned with their more worldly egoic nature. I'm more inspired now to listen to my own intuition. That's what the moon can talk about. 2 cards of Pisces energy of connecting in with your emotions and your intuition, believing in yourself, believing in your dreams, loving yourself, loving your own more worldly, immature nature. So, learning to love yourself. So, like being your own best mother, father, coach voice in your head. And if you had some people in your life in your past who you didn't feel were maybe so loving or warm and encouraging, well, you're not a child anymore. Being a child came to an end. And now you're on your own journey in life, being a student of life. And I just see the truth of it. Everybody is where they were at. Everybody had their fears, their insecurities, their indulgent nature, their immature nature. And the people in my life who were more loving and encouraging and supportive and warm and authentic and intuitive and hopeful and believing, I appreciate those people. And I can have love for the other people who weren't so much like that, but I'm not going to let it keep me in fear of going out and enjoying my life. I have learned these lessons. I do know that some people aren't who they present themselves as being. I know some people try to manipulate and control people for their own kind of selfish reasons. I know that some people don't want to heal and grow, mature themselves. And then people who make their life about something other than getting out of their ego and willing to be a student of life. And, they probably live their life and hang out with people who are more like them. And the people who are willing to learn lessons in life and don't want their more immature or fearful or self-indulgent or worldly nature to run their life, those people are inspired to kind of work with people who are more on the same page as them. So then let's see what's going on. And some people could get inspired as they, we can all see other people in the world like, wow, I'm sitting here. The Nine of Wands can talk about being defensive. And over here we have a tower defending something that's really not stable and secure or based on love. And we have a Page of Wands and a Nine of Wands. The Page of Wands could be, I'd like to move forward in life differently, and I kind of might move forward in life differently. I might have moved away from some things, but now we're at another phase of life where whatever we could have moved forward in, because life is about coming in contact with all these different people to help us get more clear about what our truth is, whenever we're going to close out a cycle, it's challenging, it's hard. And we're kind of defensive. You know, those things that we did go invest time, energy, and effort into, and we initially had hope and faith and belief that it was going to work out the way we wanted, and that we were on the same page, and everybody, you know, could have been happy at one point in time. Then we have this happening kind of in the middle. And then the Tower talks about seeing the truth of some things that, you know, there comes a point in time that we might have kind of wanted to be in denial of some things, but it could be causing instability in workplaces, in friendships, in family dynamics, in romantic relationships. And it's kind of trying to get people to see the truth that we can all be defensive of letting go of certain ways of thinking, certain ways of viewing life, certain ways of viewing relationship, the ways of viewing others. And sometimes we're kind of, where one person wants to move forward, I want to go in an energy of love to keep moving forward, to kind of grow to my full potential. And then there could be some other people in our life that are like, they just haven't learned some of those lessons. And the difference between the 1 wand and the 9 of wands is the 8 of wands. And the 8, 9, and 10 are all Sagittarius energy. Sometimes people want to keep moving forward. Like, I want to stay at this job. I want to keep being your friend. I want to still keep dating you. But why we want to move forward, because the 8 of wands normally shows, you know, that people are moving forward. Why do you want to move forward with me? Some people because they are more codependent. You could be a loving, nurturing person and you have good boundaries, and they like being in relationships with loving, nurturing people who have good boundaries, meaning you're not hurtful or unkind or bossy or controlling or immature or whatever, right? But they maybe are still kind of immature and they don't have good boundaries. So it can be one person kind of does have good boundaries. They don't indulge in their more immature nature. I'm not hiding. I'm not trying to confuse people about the truth of who I am. I am trying to inspire other people to work with their fears and insecurities, to love themselves, be more independent of their shadow nature and things in the world that manipulate them, to quit being maybe in a more codependent relationship. And let's all be inspired to move forward and detach from some of those old ways of viewing life and ways of interacting in a relationship. At one time, we could have all been on the same page, just like at one time we were all 15, we were 18, we were 21, we were 25, and we were hanging out with people who were kind of on the same page as us. But we didn't stay 15, 18, 21, and 25. And just like at those age groups, we kind of learned lessons, faced our fears, and said, you know, let's quit repeating some of these more immature ways of being, and let's emotionally grow up and mature ourselves, you know. Here we've been talking a lot about pages, and here we have a king. Well, in tarot, we have pages, and we have knights, and we have kings and queens. You know, that's a big difference in having learned lessons in life. I have learned to, maybe in all 4 of the pages, I've learned lessons living life from my mind, from my heart, from my worldly nature, from my passionate creative nature. And then I was a knight, and I was going off on these journeys as the level of a knight, and I was a little more mature, and I learned these lessons. And, you know, after I learned all the lessons and all the 4 suits of the knights, then, you know, maybe now some people are on to being a king, where I'm acting, maybe, hopefully, in high vibe. It's authentically, if you try to present yourself as a loving, nurturing family person, that is who you really are. But some people want people to view them as that type of person, and they get in relationships with people and the moon And shadowy Pisces can be where people, and anybody can do that. It's just how they harness their Pisces energy and their Cancer energy and their Sagittarius energy and their Earth sign energy, is instead of being authentic, I create an illusion and try to confuse people about the truth of who I am, and I wear like my false mask. And I'm hoping people will buy into the illusion and they'll keep moving forward with me in a relationship. The only problem is sometimes, it can work out kind of like in a job or a relationship, just like how people can get a job and I don't know, maybe people could hire people for a job, just like when you date someone. I'm hoping this is going to become a more emotionally mature relationship. And the pages could talk about kind of getting to know people. But then, you hope it grows to become a more mature relationship. Well, sometimes too, at certain jobs that people could take in the world, they're hoping as time goes by, you'll be able to take on more responsibility. And then, someone else would kind of come in and take your job. And then you would move on to a next level job. Well, what can happen in relationships and jobs is some people, while they were in the midst of it, is probably what this area talks about. We can all be in loving and encouraging workplaces, friendships, relationships, environments. But when we were in it, did we ever kind of expand ourselves? How we viewed ourselves, how we viewed others? Did we put in work and effort to learn new things and grow and mature ourselves? Because the reason for this second group here of cards is the Hangman, which is also Pisces energy, but it's about, are you willing to look at life from a different perspective? Are you willing to try to see things from other people's perspectives? And some people didn't and don't. And so they never kind of expand their perception of themselves and the world around them, and they could keep having kind of more immature ways of acting in the world, thinking in a way that people will indulge them, or maybe using their emotions manipulatively, their charm manipulatively. If it's a romantic relationship, maybe their sexual nature manipulatively. Again, trying to present themselves as a more emotionally mature person than they are. And it can become overwhelming for them in the relationship because they're in relationships and workplaces with people who do this work within themselves. They are inspired to kind of overcome their own defensiveness that they can feel within themselves and their own fears and insecurities that can kind of shake them and could tempt them to operate more from their ego, is what shadowy Hangman can be. And they don't like feeling like, well, why am I in my ego? Why is this triggering me? Why am I defensive? Why am I... they look to see the truth. The Hangman in High Vibe is about seeing things differently. It's just like, say you worked at a job, and this can happen in family and friendship dynamics too. You work at a job and everybody's kind of used to doing things a certain way. And then someone new could come in and they kind of look at life a little differently. And they might figure out some ways of doing things that does make things kind of flow more smoothly, or be able to get processes done kind of like more efficiently or something. And they could be people just because of maybe lessons they've learned in life, and it could be that they are maybe more emotionally mature and things seem to, maybe other people are more willing to work more cooperatively with them. And say you have some people in the office who could be kind of immature or stubborn, and then those people could get upset and be defensive that, well, why do those people like that person? It's like, well, that person isn't kind of immature and stubborn and defensive, and they work together with people and they're motivated to work together with other people. Or, then if somebody comes up with, just different ways of kind of doing things or rearranging things or something to make the transition go more smoothly, or maybe they're just kind of Up here we have the King of Pentacles and the Three of Pentacles. Maybe they have certain skill sets that they kind of, or have had some experience that they can kind of pick up on things quicker than some other people picked up on things. Well then, shadowy energy can be jealous and envious or whatever. Anyway, it can kind of cause some upset in some people. And the same thing can happen in family dynamics. If some people are more aligned with, more caught up in the illusion, kind of not so inspired to heal and grow and mature themselves, and could be a little stubborn or prideful and don't want to look at life from any other perspective, and they kind of are really motivated and inspired to kind of more wear a false mask. And it's kind of more like they indulge in the illusion of, look what a loving or just or fair or emotionally mature person I am. But they're not really connected in with their more inner child nature of hope and faith and belief in themselves, in others, in love. And then if someone comes into the group dynamic, family dynamic, or whatever, and that person is really more motivated and inspired by love and authentically is loving, not wearing a false mask, yeah, that can cause a problem too. Because, it can, again, the hangman can talk about being illuminated to the truth. If we were someone who, say we think, well, I'm a just and fair person, I'm a loving, stable, grounded person, there might be some things we might want to stay in denial about ourselves, and maybe we are kind of stubborn or kind of immature and kind of defensive, and maybe we might do the Tower can talk about things that aren't conducive to a stable, loving relationship. We could be immature, we could be competitive, we could be prideful, whatever, right? But as long as we don't have someone else in the group kind of really being someone who is more authentically like that, then we and the people we're in a friendship or relationship with, we can all stay in denial of the truth, and we can keep telling ourselves, no, I'm this just and fair and loving and stable and grounded, just fair person. Until someone comes around who really does seem to be more authentically that. And then that is trying to get people to see that you might profess yourself to be this just and fair and stable and grounded, loving person, but when other people who really are that are around, they could be a little defensive to the people who are more wearing a false mask because they kind of don't want to play that game. I can see that you're kind of more stubborn and more superficial or manipulative, instead of being authentically trying to work together in a more just and fair and authentic and loving way. And then they don't like that, and then they become defensive and they don't want to see the truth, and then they'd rather just have the person who seems to challenge how they view the world. That's the Tower. The Tower is trying to get people to see life differently, but we can all be kind of stubborn about looking at life from a different perspective or from other people's perspective. And especially the more, in order to learn lessons in life, you have to get out of your defensiveness. You have to get out of your ego. And some people have more of a problem of getting out of their ego and be willing to be a student of life than other people, right? So let's go look at this group of cards. Here we have the High Priestess, the Wheel of Fortune, the Star card, the King of Pentacles, the Three of Pentacles, the Eight of Wands. So we can all meet people in the world, and we can kind of, as we start new friendships, relationships, jobs, whatever it is, the High Priestess can talk about kind of just, getting to know people, but kind of sitting back and just seeing how people The Pentacles can talk about how people invest their time, energy, and effort and what they invested into. And the Eight of Wands, again, in Sagittarius energy, what motivates and inspires them. Are they people who seem to be more motivated and inspired to keep moving forward, more aligned with shadowy Aquarius, shadowy Capricorn, where it's more in their Aquarius energy? I am more about looking like a shining star in the world. Being in a relationship, because some people think being in a relationship says something about their worth or value. So some people might get in a relationship, kind of create the illusion that they really want to be in a relationship with that person, but it could just be an illusion. They might want to get in a relationship with them because some other relationship didn't work out. But, if we get in a relationship more out of ego, it's probably not going to work out the way we wanted, right? But for some people, it's really important because they think it says something, again, about their worth and value. Or, they're defensive. They want to be in a relationship. Fiery energy can be that they want to have sex with someone. So it's like, I just want to be in a relationship. But then, what if you get in a relationship with someone, and then the people you're in a relationship are like, well, we've been in the relationship, we've been kind of getting to know each other, and we've been kind of figuring out how I view life, how you view life, and one person is kind of ready to move forward in life differently, and the other person wants to keep moving forward the way they've been moving forward. So then we could have some disruption going on in a foundation because one person wants to maybe keep moving forward, being defensive and doing things the way they've done it. And the other person's like, no, I want to move forward and I want us to work on closing out something that we both need to see the truth of detaching maybe from it being more about indulging in a relationship for being in a relationship, or there can be love there and everybody could have had the best intentions, but then how people want to move forward. Maybe somebody wants to move and somebody wants to be in a big city and somebody wants to be in a small city, or just the fact that people want to move. There can be all these things that can be these differences about maybe even if we are more willing to communicate or not communicate, because the wands can be about communication and the tower can be like it's kind of breaking that down. Maybe people used to be more willing to invest and be more encouraging and supportive and loving and having, enjoying intimate relations. And then maybe that kind of stopped. And then people can kind of get defensive, like, why would I keep staying in this relationship if you're, at one point you seem to be loving and encouraging, now you seem to be defensive. What changed? And sometimes it is because sometimes if one person is kind of more motivated to, here we had the Page of Pentacles, and here we have the King of Pentacles. During the course of a friendship or relationship, right? When some people are in supportive, encouraging environments, they do this work within themselves to work through some of those issues that can kind of make them defensive, And they do look at life differently, and they could look at other people in their life like, how did those people get past their defensiveness? How did those people have more hope and faith and belief in themselves or in love? Why don't I work through my defensiveness? Why don't I have more hope and faith and belief in love? Some people maybe at one time didn't want to invest more in a romantic relationship because they were more focused at putting, and just like anybody, say you go to school or college or you didn't, you want to have a solid foundation within yourself. And initially that can be the primary focus for some people, and if people maybe did go to college and, they want to get in their exposure in it and kind of get some of those years of experience under them, maybe before they would be more interested in focusing their attention on a more romantic relationship. But in either case, whether it's in the workplace or in focusing on work or growing and healing, maturing yourself, some people, when they were in those supportive, encouraging environments, they did do this work within themselves too, in Aquarius energy, to kind of look at life from a higher perspective and keep things in perspective. And, meeting all these different people, it kind of can change your perception of how you view yourself and how you view the world. And maybe some people that thought, nope, I'm defensive to ever being more aligned with love. I want to make my life more about my career field. And some career fields really almost require almost single focus devotion, right? And it can be hard to have a romantic relationship, with the hours that you work or whatever. And, but then as they see other people kind of manage it or get past their defensiveness, or maybe some people kind of wanted to be players, male or female. And then they see other people who kind of transitioned out of that and they seem to be moving forward and seem to be letting their heart more guide them. Well, the same thing is, I was talking about the pages and the knights and the kings and the queens. We all have lessons to learn where we might focus more. And again, we kind of live in the world, and there's things of the world that we want to go indulge in and invest in because we're sure those things will make us happy. And some people could have been more about the world and not so much about their heart. And when they were maybe more about the world, some other people were defensive to them and could have gotten out of relationships with them. And those people could have moved forward, male or female, from males or females, because they were more inspired by love. And it can be that some people are like, I've already kind of made my life about those things of the world, and I kind of indulge myself in them enough that it isn't what keeps driving and motivating me. I'm kind of ready to go to now to get more life experience. And earth signs, I view the King of Pentacles and the Three of Pentacles as Capricorn energy. And I do view the King of Cups as Cancer energy. And just like Cancer and Capricorn are on opposite sides of the zodiac wheel, the earth signs are opposite of water signs, and air signs are opposite of fire signs. And so we go out to learn these lessons, maybe living more from our mind than our heart. Maybe kind of more motivated by our passionate nature or our creative nature, or rejecting one or the other. Some people in their Aquarius energy could be not willing yet to be more inspired. They let their more aligning with maybe their more worldly nature and living more from their mind than their heart, because they're defensive of maybe being more vulnerable or aligning with their more creative, inspired, fiery nature. So they choose to align maybe more so, living more from their mind than their heart and more focused on these things of the world. And not as, it's kind of like they reject that part of themselves that is more creative and inspired and intuitive. No, I don't want to listen to my intuition. Why would we be afraid of listening to our intuition? Because we listened to our intuition before and then maybe things didn't work out the way we wanted. But the whole thing is, we had valuable life lessons to learn from those people. We are drawn and attracted to certain people because it is all about going. Sagittarius energy is about going on this journey in life to learn these lessons. And if we kind of have fear of being more creative and inspired, we could get in relationships with other people who either are, and it kind of challenges our belief system to see if we're willing to be more creative, inspired, and intuitive, or more adventurous, or something in love. Or we could get in relationships with people who are more stuck in a certain way of living life, and then it kind of feels like we don't want to keep staying there anymore, and like we want more creative, inspired energy in our life. And it's all to try to help us work through some issues of our own defensiveness and inspire us to get to the truth of our own foundation. What is your dream? What really would motivate and inspire you? If you keep looking to other people to be the answer, instead of finding the answer within yourself, there's other people that are going to be happy to be in a relationship with you because you're stuck, is what the hangman could talk about. Oh, you haven't maybe learned to have good boundaries within yourself. Perfect. Let's date. Let's get married. And during the course of that relationship, it will maybe force you to learn to stand up for yourself and love yourself. There's kind of benefits if we're willing to see the truth of how it forces us maybe even to move forward in life, where before we didn't, we all can like to stay in our comfort zone. And it's like, but you're kind of not, it's kind of like we have the knowledge of the tree of good and evil within us, and the seeds of both want to grow in a way. And our creative, inspired, loving nature wants to grow. But if we keep being defensive, it causes in the tower like instability within us, because we're not kind of listening to our intuition, and we're kind of resisting it, kind of in our pride and ego that no, I know best. I don't want to do that. That could hurt me, or that could be dangerous. But then it can become overwhelming. And it is kind of to try to maybe quit moving forward in a way we have been moving forward. If we've been moving forward in the wrong job, in the wrong friendship, in the wrong relationship, it's like to stand up for ourselves and like, I'm not going to keep moving forward in that way. If I'm the one who feels like I'm having to put in all the work and effort to try to inspire and motivate other people, and I'm the one constantly trying to see things from their perspective, and I'm the one trying to move a relationship forward, but they keep being defensive and they seem to kind of want to more indulge in the relationship than work with me cooperatively, at what point in time am I going to see that I'm kind of inspired to move this forward? They're not inspired to move it forward. And the truth might be, because the tower is trying to reveal the truth of what really drives and motivates people, is they have no interest in moving forward in that way. And I could have been wanting to stay in denial of the truth. And we want to stay in denial of the truth because if we were to see the truth and communicate our truth, other people might become defensive to us, and the job or the friendship or the relationship might end. And we don't want that. So there could even be some people that could be in jobs, friendships, and relationships with people. They could feel stuck in those relationships, but we're all ready to stand up for ourselves and what we believe in. And when we're ready and have kind of done this work within ourselves that, you know what, I'm ready to move on from this. I've kind of looked at it from every perspective, and I might have been more codependent. I might have gotten married. I might have created a family with people. Of course, I wanted it to move forward successfully. But am I in relationships with people who are willing to be a student of life? Or are they like, well, no, I'm supposed to be able to be defensive or stubborn or manipulative or secretive or even do hurtful and unkind things can be what the tower means. And you're supposed to just keep moving forward with me anyway. It's like, and that's how some people view themselves in relationship to others. Some people could be very prideful and egotistical. I have a certain status or image or social clout or money or attractiveness, or they're just live a life of illusion and they're full of themselves, right? And they just think people will want to be in a relationship with me because of whatever these traits or characteristics or assets that I have. And, there's always people in the world who have had relationships and that are looking for someone new to get in a relationship with. And if they have these certain traits, characteristics, or they're just single, or they have a good job, or they have money, or they seem to be attractive or charming or something, there's going to be people who get in a relationship with them. And that's how some people want to live their life. I'm here, you come get in a relationship with me, and that nothing ever changes. No, we don't ever let go of this. But they could create the illusion, oh no, I'm willing to have a new beginning. Oh, I have a dream of working together with you cooperatively and moving forward, and this will move into a more committed relationship one day. And people get in the relationship, over time goes by, they're kind of like, I'm trying to move it forward, and I thought we were all on the same page, and now I'm feeling kind of stuck, and I'm starting to think you're a little defensive to really moving forward with this. And that can be when some people, the tower, sometimes it needs to happen over and over and over, and from the 1 wand to the 9 wands, different things could have happened, 8 different things that kind of clearly tried to show people this isn't moving forward the way you think it's going to move forward. But we're kind of defensive to seeing the truth. And then it's not bad, in a way I want to feel like I know that I did everything I could. That when I leave, I know I did everything I could. And then I can leave in a clear conscience that I did try to see things from other people's perspective, work together with them cooperatively, was loving and encouraging and supportive, and over and over and over, they chose not to move forward with me, to be inspired, to be more authentic, and work together with me more from a foundation of love. And they might like indulging themselves in a relationship more, where it is maybe not letting their more hopeful, believing inner child out to play, and they do operate more from their egoic nature of self-protection or defensiveness, and that's the foundation they operate from. There could be a part of them that would like to let that inner child out to play in the world, but it's like, nope, you're not going out. We get hurt out there. Love, we get hurt. We're going to stay right here. We're going to let those people go, and we're going to redo this with someone else. And if we find someone else who seems to be willing to let go of moving forward in life differently or being more motivated and inspired by love, perfect. We'll move forward with those people because they're on the same page as us. And other people are getting out of those jobs, friendships, and relationships. And if they've gotten in new ones and those people, they're willing to work together with them. And when they see that there's certain kind of things need to change, they are willing to work on it and try to see things from other people's perspective. And then their relationship kind of keeps going to the next level. We saw what needed to be let go of and kind of why we were being defensive and why we felt stuck. And we were both inspired to offer love to it to keep moving forward in relationship. So, what are these 2 cards that aren't showing themselves? Now, as some people move forward in life, if there's people that you have your people in your life, some people can't maybe understand. How do some of those people get past their defensiveness? How come they don't seem to get stuck in their relationships? How come they're not more motivated and inspired by money or materialism or ego and make that the most important thing in their life if I make it the most important thing? Why aren't they being more immature and self-indulgent if I'm being more immature and self-indulgent? If I have these things of the world and I'm willing to indulge someone, some of those people could be shocked that there's some people in the world that are defensive to being in a relationship with them, right? It's like, but I have all these things. You should want to be in a relationship with me. It's like, kind of what drives and motivates you and why you want to get in a relationship, be in a relationship, and stay in a relationship, I don't think it's because of love. And I do want to be in a relationship with people based on love. And that's what some people can't understand because they're more driven and motivated by these things of the world. And they think other people think like them. And then that could be a shock to them. Like, I can't believe you're willing, to give up this job or this friendship or this relationship to be inspired to listen to your intuition and go live your more authentic life. I was like, I don't like being in relationships where, maybe initially I didn't know what my truth was because, again, we got to live life to get clear about what our truth is. And we are kind of indoctrinated by the world. Make your life about this, do that, wear that. You'll be happy. And then we did all that and we felt stuck, and it could have even really, kind of thrown our life into chaos somewhat with the Tower card. If I look to other things outside of me to be the answer to make me happy, well, how much am I going to drink? How much am I going to eat? How many drugs am I going to do? How codependent am I going to be in a relationship, right? And the thing is, I need to detach from my more immature nature and get inspired to love myself, to be more independent, to grow up and mature myself, quit being in and living my life these certain ways. And you are moving forward. And it might seem a little overwhelming, but some people don't understand how other people move forward in a more high vibrational relationship. And what they don't understand is that high vibe people were willing to disconnect from harnessing this energy in a more shadowy way. And they did put in that work, which can be overwhelming, to free themselves from these things that manipulated them to some degree. And they were willing to detach from some people in their life that maybe wanted them to stay in friendships or relationships with them. But it was something more, why would we stay in it? Out of our own codependency, out of our own defensiveness to loving ourselves, believing in our dreams, our fear, our insecurity, our ego, whatever. And eventually people are like, I'm not willing to stay for those reasons. And you are willing to detach from the people in your life who weren't willing to move forward with you in the way you wanted to move forward, but you weren't willing to keep moving forward with them, doing life the way they wanted. The foundation you wanted to build your lives on, love or something else, was different. And some of them might want to come with, but they still harness these energies in a more shadowy way. And they probably have people in their life, or the world, or their lust, or their greed, or their pride, or their ego, or whatever, that manipulates them. And they're not willing to cut those things or those people out of their life. The Judgment and the Four of Swords. You have to hold yourself accountable for your actions, and you have to see the truth. And the Four of Swords is Libra energy, represented by the scales of justice. You're supposed to treat other people the way you want to be treated. And some people don't like to do that. That's a lot of work, when I'd really rather be kind of more about me. How about we just indulge me? And how about I kind of operate from my ego, and maybe I can do hurtful and unkind things, but because you're defensive and don't want to leave, I can just keep doing it, and you should indulge me in my poor behavior. And they don't want to be held accountable for their actions, might not want to reveal the truth, speak the truth, take action more from love. You can get hurt doing love, and so they prefer to live more from their mind than their heart. Or that is how they view relationships. Like, well, no, if you weren't willing to indulge me and be the answer to, I think, my problems, I'll go find someone else. And they keep looking, because their philosophy can be, no, it's all about me and people are supposed to love me. And if you're not willing to indulge me and make your whole life about me, then you must not be the right one. And they're going to keep trying to find someone who seems loving. Or they could be people that Loving people they reject because they're still heartbroken and they haven't healed from people in their life, because we'll all repeat past patterns. If they had people in their life that were kind of in shadowy energy and they're still kind of in their ego about why those people weren't more just and fair and loving, they could be trying to chase after people who remind them, kind of subconsciously, who have some of those same traits and characteristics. If those people were my mom or my dad or people I dated when I was young or people at school that were in a certain clique group or something, now that I'm older and maybe I'm more mature and maybe I'm more attractive or stable or grounded or something, successful in some way, now if I could get in a relationship with someone like that and I can really maybe be more in a romantic relationship with them, I'm sure they would love me. But they're kind of not seeing the truth that they could be chasing after people and they don't want to see the truth of their foundation. And to a degree, we all could have done that. Oh, look, there's someone who's more stubborn or more prideful or more immature. Oh, I'm going to change them. I'm going to make them do love. And, when do we quit trying to change other people and we see the truth? You know what? I'm going to go find people who are more on the same page as me. I'm not going to try to change other people. But we could have also been tipped more out of balance into our more loving, nurturing nature instead of being more practical and grounded. And, it's always about, is love the answer? Yes. It's good to be loving and encouraging to people. But until you show me that you are not acting in these more immature, self-indulgent, whatever ways of being, I'm going to keep moving forward in my life. But when we're young, right, we all got in those relationships because it's like, oh yeah, we live our life completely different, but I'm sure it'll work out completely fine. And we could keep trying to move forward in those relationships, but if one person is more immature, kind of, or self-indulgent, and one person is more mature, eventually people see the truth, and it's like, I do want the justice I deserve, and I have offered love and encouragement, been supportive, encouraging, blah, blah. And eventually, everybody has free will, and if their choice is not to detach from these old ways of being, to move forward with me in an energy of love, then I wish them peace. I have healed. And I am holding myself and other people accountable. And in High Vibe Aquarius, it's a higher truth and justice. Because other people could be like, oh my gosh, but you were in that job, or you got in that relationship, or you did marry them. You should stay in it. It's like, I adhere to a higher truth and justice. And if people aren't behaving in a just and fair and balanced and authentic and loving way, and they're acting in these self-indulgent, immature, prideful, unloving ways, well, if you, because of some worldly belief system, want to do that in your life, you go right ahead. But I think that's negative energy trying to stop loving energy from giving birth to new things, because negative energy, at the big picture, represented by the devil, doesn't want people to give birth to new things. God wants people to give birth to new things. God wants people to quit repeating old patterns, to learn the lessons and let go of some of these old ways of living life where it might be more out of ego and image and codependency and lust and greed. When you see people acting that way, wish them peace and move on. And you get to the point where I'm no longer interested in trying to heal this relationship, because again, it takes both people to be motivated and inspired to want to heal a relationship, maintain balance in a relationship, be authentic and loving in a relationship. But again, there's kind of some immature people. It's like, well, no, I'm supposed to be able to be shadowy or bossy or controlling or whatever, and you're just supposed to indulge me. I was like, well, I'm done indulging people. And I think with these cards not showing themselves, I think when we don't act with character and integrity, we could think that we can cheat the system. I'll just create this illusion and I'll go do this and get a new job or get in a new relationship. I'm sure it'll all work out fine. They know the truth. And they know they were defensive to holding themselves accountable for their actions and being more just and fair. And then when other people won't keep indulging them, they can kind of be in their ego about it. And again, some people like, I don't think you'll keep loving and believing in yourself. I'm sure this is a good idea. Us in our pride and ego thinking we have a good idea. I'm not going to take action with love. I have an idea. I'm going to act prideful and egotistical. I bet you won't love and believe in yourself enough to leave. And then when some people did leave, and some people are leaving relationships now or workplaces and friendships, then it's like, I can't believe. When did they wrap their brain around all of this? When did they heal? Well, that's kind of the thing with these cards not showing themselves either. Healing is an internal thing. You don't really see it. You can kind of see it by people's actions and how they choose to invest their time, energy, and effort. Some people want to stay in denial. Oh no, I'm sure they're not healing and growing and maturing themselves. I'm sure they're still fearful and insecure just like they were when I met them or as we've been. And while some people were inspired to heal and grow and mature themselves, other people just kept indulging themselves. And then you kind of end up on kind of different pages of life and how you view life and how you want to move forward in life. And then it's like, well, when did you change? It's like just during the course of life. Periodically, I look at those things that bother me and I work through them so that I can let those things not keep bothering me. And then I'm kind of ready to move forward in life differently. It's like, but I'm not ready to move forward in life differently. It's like, it's kind of like the truth sets you free. And some people don't want to deal with the truth. There could be things that manipulate them and they don't want to see the truth of it and they want to stay in denial of it. So they just keep thinking, I'll just keep going, moving forward the way I am. I'm sure if I make my life about these things or get a new job or a new relationship, it'll all be fine. But if they're not operating from truth and love, the next place they go, and they're not as emotionally mature or stable or grounded as they profess to be, other people will see the truth and other people realize they're kind of unstable or motivated and inspired by something other than love. And if it's a romantic relationship, high vibe people want it to be because of love, not because of ego and image or fear, or insecurity or codependency. And then there's also more shadowy people again who try to tear down the foundation of people who kind of hold themselves to a little higher standard. It's like, hey, go live your life the way you want to live your life. But it can just bother them. Well, why aren't you doing what I'm doing? It's like, because I maybe already been there and done that. And I don't care to do that. It's like, it can still bother them. And then they can act in pride and ego and be hurtful and unkind, just trying to overwhelm people that are more balanced and healed and loving themselves and moving forward in life because they don't want you to because they're not. And then they hope to tear you down. And it's like, I work through and deal with the truth, and I see who is working together with me cooperatively in a just and fair and loving way and who isn't. And I'm not going to give up my dreams. I just see who's not part of my dream. And I wish you peace and I let you go live your life. And I'm going to go find the people who do seem to be more on the same page as me. What's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Aquarius that they might not see coming? The Five of Pentacles. Why? Because of the Emperor and the Seven of Wands. So the Five of Pentacles comes after the Four of Pentacles, and the Four of Pentacles can be like trying to hold on to a foundation. Like, I really don't want to leave this job, this friendship, this relationship. I really don't want to kind of distance myself from some of these people because, you can love them. But if other people aren't acting from love and are kind of acting immature, you got to stand up for yourself. And that's also what the Seven of Wands talks about. It's like, I am going to keep moving forward. I have seen the truth. Can people change over time? Maybe, we'll see. But in the meantime, in the Five of Pentacles, I've seen the truth of how you're acting, and I'm going to keep my distance from you. Will I maybe go through a period of feeling left out in the cold? Yeah. But I'd rather feel a little left out in the cold than stay in a little bit of hell. You know, people have the free will to create a little heaven on earth, love, justice, fairness, authenticity, warm, loving, or they can create a little hell on earth. Same way in workplaces. Like, why would I keep working here when you people act like this? And I think that in a world of duality, if people are creating a little hell on earth, that means there's other places that are creating a little heaven on earth. And I know was a while back now, but I changed jobs because it was creating a little hell on earth. And I went to the other job and it was like day and night. It's like, whoa! It was like the trumpets were blowing. It's like, wow, this is so completely different. Everybody being so nice and could they help you? And just the way they talked and trying to work together with you is like, wow, this is really different. And I just think if we listen to both the Emperor and the Seven of Wands, that's Aries and Leo energy is how I view it. When you listen to your intuition, this isn't just and fair. There could be a lot of things that could make me want to stay. One of them probably being love, but we can all be tempted in our worldly nature of stability and security and wanting to be in these relationships or whatever. But if I always am being wounded and have to constantly be on the defensive, I'm leaving. I do not think this is just and fair. You might think it's just and fair. And I think when we listen to our intuition and we're willing to stand up for ourselves and we're getting out of our ego about it, you know, it will lead to a victory worth defending, because that wasn't something worth defending in the energy that it was. And the only person I can change is me. And if I was offering truth and love and encouragement to others to provide an environment for them to heal, but they choose to be defensive to doing that and reject it with those cards not showing themselves, that's not what motivates and inspires me. I look to other people to be the answer to my problems. I don't have to do that work within myself. Okay, well, we have different philosophies of life. And the Five of Pentacles is Taurus energy, which is about our philosophy of life. They're going to keep moving forward in their philosophy of life and defending what they believe in, which could be more about themselves. That shadowy Aries energy of the Emperor. High vibe people have learned lessons in life. After the pages and the knights and the kings and the queens, then we have the Emperor and the Empress. And people who authentically are presenting themselves in the world, they've learned all these lessons in life. Emotionally, they're an Empress. They're a just, fair, balanced, kind of a walk the talk type of person. I treat other people the way I like to be treated. And I don't act petty and envious and jealous. And when I feel those things, I work through it to figure out why. And I am who I present myself as being. And high vibe Taurus, kind of walking the talk. And I don't have an interest in repeating these old ways of being. I've already been there. We've all been more immature, more bossy, more controlling, more defensive, more stubborn. I've been there and done that. I want to be in a more emotionally mature relationship, inspired by love. That is the truth of the difference. You know, you learn lessons, you get out of your ego, you're less in your ego, you're more open to working together with people cooperatively. And some people who are in like a romantic relationship like that, if there could have been people in their life, or you're in that relationship and somebody could communicate with you that they got out of something and wondering if you'd want to move forward with them, you know, because people could just be dating or something like that. You know, people have done this work within themselves to just figure out, what is my truth? Why am I moving forward with the people I'm moving forward? Why are those people moving forward with me? What about anybody else that I might meet in my life? What do I think drives and motivates them? And high vibe people are willing to take action in truth and love to keep putting in the work and effort, making good decisions in their life to live their truth. And that could mean they're not going to move forward with some of the people they have been in friendships or relationships with, and they might move forward with someone else that could have been a shock, like, oh my gosh, I thought I was living the dream and happy, and then it's like, oh my gosh, and then other people can have an opportunity, and it's a way for them to not have to kind of hold themselves to a higher standard. Oh, would this person more willing to indulge me, or more codependent, or whatever, or then they get in a relationship with those people. Everybody's got their motivation. Anyway, what's coming up? High vibe people are moving forward. When we see the truth and we learn the lessons and we get out of our ego, it's kind of like we go to the next level of the video game of life. And other people can want to go to the next level, but just like in the video games, you kind of fall through the booby traps because you haven't learned some lessons and skills in life, and it can still be really overwhelming because some people aren't ready yet. And if some of the, when we meet those people, we can always be friends with people, and we can be loving and encouraging to people, but I'm not going to have a new beginning and move forward in a more involved relationship with you when I don't think you're ready for that. Can I be encouraging and supportive? And we're friends? Yeah, but I'm going to have good boundaries. And if over the course I start to see that, it's someone new or whatever, work or otherwise, that I've met, that I don't really think they hold themselves accountable for their actions, or I think they're kind of tipped out of balance, or they're kind of more about, I don't know, looking like a boss or sex or something. Yeah, I'm going to keep my boundaries up, and eventually it's just like, I don't think this is going to work, and I maybe won't hang around them as much, as I maybe initially could have. You have to deal with the truth. And some people are no longer willing to kind of indulge people more in their poor behavior like they could have when they were younger. Okay, what's coming up for more shadowy, worldly Aquarius that they might not see coming? The Four of Swords. Why? Because of the Ten of Swords and the Page of Pentacles. If we keep not willing to be a student of life, we keep kind of being in the healing stage, or looking outside of ourselves to get in relationships or whatever, or just go get a different job. I don't have to see the truth about where I need to heal and grow and mature myself. And when people keep acting like that, they can have loving people in their life that would like to work out relationships with them. But if they're unwilling to see the truth, unwilling to get out of their defensive nature or immature nature or codependent nature, defensive nature, worldly more nature, and invest from love, eventually some of the high vibe people in their life aren't willing to keep backstabbing themselves from their dreams coming into reality to keep trying to heal this relationship. It's a free will choice. We either work through those issues, and the difference between the 4 and the 10 is the 6 of Swords, which is Aquarius energy of how do we handle kind of like our mental conflict? Do we offer love to it? Or do we sabotage that? Because to really heal, you have to reflect on the truth. You need to deal with the truth and offer love to it. Where do I need to heal and grow and mature myself? Where have other people in my life need to heal and grow and mature themselves? Where did I feel backstabbed and betrayed? Or am I willing to see the truth of it within myself and other people? Can I accept that people are fallible human beings and they might be kind of immature and codependent and immature and more about themselves? Can I deal with the truth of that and let it be what it is and move on? Am I all about me? Am I all about the world? Do I look at life from a higher perspective? Do I think there's anything more to work with in this world? Like my intuitive, creative, inspired nature, that there's maybe a little more to being on this planet than just a blip, and we're supposed to just be all about ourselves and play the game that the world tells us it's all about us, or all about ego and image or indulgence? Do we think there could be more purpose? And some people don't. And some people are too prideful and egotistical to get out of their ego or admit they have lessons to learn. And because of that, some of the high vibe people in their life see the truth of it and they move on. And eventually they might end up in a relationship with someone who also doesn't believe in their dreams, also doesn't think there's anything more to life. We should live more from our mind than our heart. We should make our life and get in relationships and stay in relationships more of our fear and our insecurity and our lust and our greed and our ego. Let's not be inspired by love. And that is the truth of how some people want to live their life. Because that is not their truth. And in their free will, they have the free will to live their life that way. It's just that sometimes people who are kind of defensive to love, they want to be in relationships with loving people, though, because that's great. But I don't want to do that. That takes self-discipline and work and effort and insight and healing and growing and maturing. But I want to be in a relationship with you to enjoy all the benefits of someone who's done that work within themselves. That's great. But I don't want to be that kind of person. Well, the whole thing is, people could have put up with people when they were younger, but the older they get, it's like, I deserve to get justice, and I deserve to be in relationships with people who have done that work within themselves, who are more tempered in their ego, who are more emotionally mature, who aren't more immature and all about themselves. I want to be in a relationship with people who have learned these lessons in life. And eventually, some of the more worldly, shadowy people might eventually see the truth that they kind of backstabbed themselves because they kept in their free will. The Ten of Swords is Gemini energy, which is about our free will choice. They weren't willing to invest in loving themselves and believing in love and choosing love, and they chose themselves or their mind or their defensive nature or the world or their more immature, lustful, self-indulgent nature. And they're not going to have what other people, if you plant good seeds, you reap a good harvest or have a better likelihood of reaping a good harvest. And they didn't plant those seeds. And other people saw the truth of it, and other people moved on. Are we willing to learn some lessons in life? Get out of our ego. Admit, I might have some healing and growing and maturing to do. And I'm going to do that work. And once I've done that work, then I'm going to be ready. And I also healed from people in my life that could be kind of shadowy. Then I'm ready to go back out there, having hope and faith and belief in my dreams. I'm not going to give up my dreams just because of other things that happened in my life or other people. That lets shadowy energy win, and I'm not going to let shadowy energy win. My dream can't come into reality with people that are in more shadowy energy. So I needed to see the truth that it was just part of the learning process, and I learned what I needed to learn. I'm not as naive and gullible and codependent and all those things as I was. I have really bossed up, and now I'm ready to move forward in life differently. So there you go, Aquarius. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.